Thank you so much, Katharine. That was amazing. We do have quite a few questions via poll everywhere, and I think you'll find some of these very interesting. Katharine, would you ever consider counseling politicians to help explain the free market solutions to climate change? I noticed that neither of our current candidates discusses the same amazing solutions you suggest.
Mhm. And the fact that there is a bipartisan climate solutions caucus in both the Senate and Congress here in the US, where you're only allowed to join if you join at the same time as a member from the other party. So it's exactly 50-50 Democrats and Republicans. Unfortunately, here's the thing. If you go to people and kind of, force the information on them when they're not looking for it, it often doesn't go down well, especially with a politician. You have to begin the discussion, as I talk about in my TED Talk, begin the discussion with something they care about, that they're concerned about, and that would help them connect with their constituents. And really, I think it's past time to start talking about the benefits of wind energy and increasingly solar energy for West Texas. We've got new solar farms going in right around us. Every time you drive south of here, you see the wind energy is moving closer. We've just are joining the ERCOT grid finally, which has been the biggest thing stopping us in our area from producing more wind and solar energy. And yet our politicians are still somehow not talking about that. When it's a huge job producer, we have a National Wind Energy Institute right here at Texas Tech. It's the fastest growing new job in the whole country. And Texas has the ability to lead the entire world. It's time to stop looking just to the past, and it's time to start looking to the future.
Very, very well said. So the next top question is, what type of messaging should we send out to counter that it is too late to act on both Cs?
Oh, well, you will not be at all surprised to hear that I have a global weirding episode about that. I seriously do. It's called It's Too Late, Isn't It? So you know that you're going to have to go on a binge watch for global weirding, don't you? But that's okay because the whole family can watch. They have little cartoons in them to kind of keep the kids interested, and teachers even use them often in the classroom. So they're not, hardcore science, and they're just about 6 or 7 minutes long. But please do give a few of them of the watch because they answer so many of these questions. So on the answer, is it too late? With both COVID and climate change, a certain amount of impacts have already happened. We cannot rewind the clock. We can't bring people back from the dead that we've lost. And all of us probably know people who we've lost. With climate change, some amount of impacts are already inevitable. 40% of the rain that fell during Hurricane Harvey wouldn't have fallen if the same hurricane had happened 100 years ago. And it's estimated more recently that 2/3 of the economic impacts of Hurricane Harvey were due to the fact that that hurricane was supersized by a changing climate. So we can't roll back the clock. It's as if we've been smoking a pack of cigarettes every day for years and even a decade or two, but we don't have emphysema, we don't have lung cancer, and we're not dead. So when's the time to stop? Now. And what does stopping look like when it comes to climate change? It looks like figuring out how to get our electricity from clean sources that don't produce carbon. It looks like electrifying everything that we can, like heating and cars and some industrial processes. It looks like creating carbon neutral fuels, which many scientists and engineers are working on to replace carbon-based fuels in things like long-haul aircraft, where we're not going to have batteries that are light enough to power long-haul flights. They still need liquid fuel, but you can create liquid fuel. You can create it from chemical syntheses. You can create it from carbon that you sucked out of the air and turned into fuel. You can create it from uh, from agricultural waste. And in fact, United Airlines has been flying flights out of the LA airport for, I think, 4 years now on biofuel, which is amazing. So that's what climate solutions look like. And they also consist of taking carbon out of the atmosphere, putting it back in the soil where we want it, where it actually helps grow our crops. And here at Texas Tech, in fact, probably on this very call, we have Natasha, who's one of our professors in biological sciences, who works with local cotton producers to help them implement regenerative agricultural techniques that actually help sequester carbon in the soil, where it's a fantastic fertilizer. And it also helps with climate change. That's another incredible good news story that hardly anyone knows, but more people are finding out now, because when the Smithsonian Museum came to me and they said, we want to do some movies to show in our brand new fossil hall about climate solutions, I was like, oh, I have a climate solution that you need to show. So they came here to West Texas. They actually shot a movie with Natasha, with one of her growers, that talks about how Smart agriculture techniques that put carbon back in the soil are a climate solution. And that's actually on YouTube. So what do coronavirus solutions look like? Coronavirus solutions, first of all, look like wearing your mask. Yes. And they also look like social distancing, even though we are so tired of doing that. We have to, because it's about keeping each other safe. But coronavirus recovery looks like stimulating the economy. What if we actually started to put some, not just some private money, but some government money into growing the industries that are booming here in Texas, like wind and solar energy? What if people were actually able to make some changes that they couldn't change before, like, for offers to insulate your home or increase your energy efficiency? Through efficiency improvements alone in the US, we could cut our carbon emissions 50% and save ourselves money. So if the coronavirus recovery looked like putting money into those type of things, in 10 years, we would all be so much better off than we were before the pandemic started. How we spend the money is absolutely key.
So our next question is, we have all learned that slow action caused this pandemic to become what it has become. How quickly will we start to see the symptoms of our slow action on climate change?
How soon? Well, we've already seen them. Yes, climate change is no longer just an issue. It's happening right here today. Here in Texas, our summers are longer. Our extreme heat in the summer is more intense. Our variable rainfall, which is always variable, is getting stretched in both directions. So our dry periods are drier, our heavy rainfall is heavier, and hurricanes are getting bigger and stronger with a lot more rainfall associated with them, and sea levels rising. What's happening over in the Western US? Well, climate change has doubled the area burned by wildfires already. What's happened around the world? Climate change has increased the gap between the richest and poorest countries by 25% already. So climate change impacts are already here, but here's the important thing. Our choices today make all the difference in the world. It's not a case of the planet. The planet's going to survive. It will still be orbiting the sun long after we're gone. The question is, will human civilization survive? And the answer depends on us. The choices we make today will determine whether we limit this warming to a manageable degree, like the 1.5 degrees or 2 degrees that every country in the world agreed to under the Paris Agreement, or will we soar into unknown territory through continuing to depend on fossil fuels and take our civilization with it? That choice is up to us, and it is not too late to make that choice. Now is the perfect time to make it. And Climate Courage, again, talks about how people are already making it. That's the beautiful thing. It's not a case of nobody's doing it. So many people are already doing it. We just need more hands on that boulder, rolling it down the hill faster and faster.
I actually have a follow-up on that personally.
Sure.
We know for COVID-19, there are two main things we can do. We can social distance and we can wear masks. But I know that one of your main things is just talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Is there another, if that's the wearing masks, what is the other thing that we can do to help slow climate change?
We can use our voice to advocate for change in every organization that we're part of. So whether it's a 9-year-old talking about what a school can do, whether you in your church or your congregation, you're like, hey, we don't have a creation care team. How about we start one? Whether it's you're a student at the university and you want to email our administrators and ask them why our campus is not powered by wind or solar energy and what else the campus is doing to cut our emissions and to prepare for the impacts of a changing climate. If you work at a business, how you could be more efficient, save energy, and save money. And in fact, you know what? We have a graduate from Texas Tech called Colby May. He graduated in business administration from Tech. He went on to get a master's of divinity from a seminary. And then, you know what he did? He founded an energy efficiency company that goes to churches and schools. He's done a bunch of schools here in West Texas, and he just got a grant to do 50 churches in Illinois. And he does an energy audit for them to help them save money. He figures out how they could cut their energy use, how they could save money, how they could reduce their carbon. And if they have a little bit of extra money that they've saved up, he can come back later and then they can talk about, hey, we saved so much money, we might look at solar panels on the roof or something like that. So that's somebody from our own university who is making a huge difference in that area. So talking about it, talking about why it matters, what we can do to fix it, and advocating for change is the most important thing that any of us can do.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that. So our next question is, can you recommend an up-to-date, easily readable book that focuses on the science of climate change?
Oh, yes, that's a great question. My top recommendation would be the book that every student in my class has to read. So if you're a student in my class, you already know exactly what I'm going to say. It's a book called The Thinking Person's Guide to Climate Change. And it is a fantastic summary of the science, of the impacts, and he even talks a little bit about the solutions as well. Now, that said, I also have an Amazon list of books that I've collected. And again, if you're a student in my class, you've already seen this list, because in every class I teach, students get to pick 2 books off this list to read. And you can click on it, and it's got a variety of books. There's books on the science, there's books on the impacts, there's books on the solutions. There's a whole kind of range of books that are sort of organized by topic, but they're all books that I've looked at myself and I've read, and they're really good to look at the impacts of climate change and just kind of understanding the issue.
This is a great list. We actually used this during our Earth Week event, and we still use it to this day to find things for our Facebook and Instagram.
Awesome. Okay, I think we have time for like a final speed round. We have 3 minutes, so let's do it.
Okay, so I think you did cover this, but why are some people so resistant to climate change and COVID messaging from scientists?
They're not resistant to the science. They're resistant to what they think they have to do about it. And if you don't want to do something, the best technique is to shoot the messenger. So unfortunately, scientists are often the ones who are the first to receive those poison darts when we don't want to heed their advice. And there's also an extra element in it of anti-intellectualism. So there was a book in 1964 that won the Pulitzer Prize called Anti-Intellectualism in America, about how people don't like people who are experts, who appear to be intellectuals. And so there's that sort of natural distrust of those pointy-headed scientists overlapping with they're telling me something I don't want to do. And 1 + 1 adds up to about 52 in terms of I don't want to listen to what you're saying as a result. So again, our second most popular global weirding episode, if I just tell them the facts, surely they'll change their mind. That talks about that. And my TED Talk actually talks about that a little bit too. And Naomi Oreskes' book, Why Trust Science, is excellent on that topic. Again, she's got the book, she's got the TED Talk, and we've got her in February.
I'm so excited for that one. So I think we have time for one more quick one, which is, what do you say to people who say masks won't work?
There's scientific studies that say that they do work. And what I say to them is this, and I cannot take credit from this, I read it from somebody else, okay? Masks mostly protect other people from you, although they do protect you a little bit too. It's sort of like wearing pants. Imagine if you are not wearing pants and you pee. The pee gets all over everybody around you. But if you are wearing pants, the pee gets over you, but not anybody else. And if you are wearing pants and somebody else not wearing pants pees, the pants at least protect you somewhat from that pee. So that's what I would tell people. Everybody needs to wear their pants because nobody likes getting peed on.
And Natasha has a good one that is the bottom of her email. It says, COVID-19 explained in crafting terms. 10 people are crafting, 1 is using glitter. How many projects will end up with glitter? And I love that one.
Exactly.
No, exactly.
And if anybody hasn't crafted with glitter, the answer is every project. Yes. All right. Well,
thank you so much. That is the last of our questions, and it is 6 o'clock. If you have any final words to say, and I, again, will email this recording out to everyone. I'm going to include as many links as possible. And thank you so much for joining us.